The opinions expressed by the host of the show are his and his only, but we do hope you agree with those. And remember, past performance does not guarantee future results.
We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation.
Welcome to episode 31 of Hobby Quick Hits. My name's John Newman. The title of this episode is Conquering the Football Market. Please take that as tongue-in-cheek. You know, no one's conquering anything. There's hits and misses. But, you know, when I came up with the premise for the show, as someone who loves football cards and does a lot with football cards for a very long time, and I know a lot of people, it's not their favorite aspect of the hobby, football, but I wanted to bring some of my knowledge and expertise, if you will, about football cards. So I came up with the Conquering the Football Market, but please don't take it as a cocky. It's all tongue in cheek. It's all a little fun. But I've dealt in football cards for quite a long time. Where others are predominantly a lot of times baseball or basketball or one sport. I've done multiple sports as a dealer, as a seller, as a store owner. But I'm a huge football guy. I've coached football. I love football. I'm a huge Steeler fan. Go to games, and I was in on football cards, if you will, when a lot of other people, let's say, weren't, or I kind of sang its praises when a lot of people were kind of being Debbie Downer on that aspect of the hobby. But I think we've come a long way, and I think what we see in 2020 is every genre of cards, trading cards, just exploding from Yu-Gi-Oh to soccer cards. I mean, soccer cards are just exploding too. And football's always been kind of the little brother to baseball cards, right? And people didn't always admit they collected it or liked it, and a lot less transactions in the football card market in comparison to other markets, including basketball, which we know is international. I've always just enjoyed it, and I wanted to share some of that and some tips for, let's be real, 2020, every niche of the hobby is just experiencing tremendous growth. And football cards is, with the season starting now, and we're here in going into week 4, football cards is going to get that same bounce as all these other facets of the hobby. And so I wanted to share some expertise, if you will, allow me to, on some strategies you can employ if you're going to you're already in the football card market or planning to get in the football market. And so in leading up to this episode, I asked myself, why are less people doing football cards, buying them, dealing in them, out of some of the sports, baseball, basketball. And the answer came to me, and it's just my opinion. I just think there's more of a risk in football cards. Think about it, right? Where do a lot of injuries happen? Like, injuries happen in all sports, but in football, we're talking a highly contact sport. A guy's career could be over in his rookie season with a terrible injury. And so that inherent risk is there where people don't want to invest a lot of money. Where we see, a Fernando Tatis gold auto go for $217,000. People are reluctant to do the same in the football card market because, boom, in the blink of an eye, a career could be over. We see shelf lives of position players not last very long. You could be a star running back 1 year and 2 years later be out of the league. I mean, look, we've seen the fall from grace from Le'Veon Bell, from being on track to being one of the best running backs of all time, potentially, to being sort of an afterthought now in New York. And so those kind of scenarios scare people away, I think, from the football hobby. And I understand that. I get it. But, that's only some of the story. That's not the full movie, the full picture. And so what I'm going to try to bring today, here in 20, 30 minutes, is some tips and some strategies. So, the other thing, when you look at football cards, defensive players do not bring a lot of money, a lot of value on the secondary market. And it's really been like that for a long time. You go look at the great defenders of years past. Your Lawrence Taylor's rookie is very affordable when you compare it to offensive superstars. Even the Dick Buckuses and guys of the past. My guy, Mean Joe Green. Although that sort of stuff, a lot of the vintage in all the sports, and football included, is creeping up, or even more so than creeping, making some jumps. And up until recently, you could have had Marino and Elway rookies. Jerry Rice, arguably the greatest football player of all the time, and undoubtedly the greatest wide receiver of all time. Until a few years ago, you could have bought all the raw rookies you wanted at $20, and then submitted and got them graded, and now that's trending up. So Jerry Rice rookies, Marinos, Rices, Elways, those have started to slowly rise, especially on the graded card level, but even the raws as well. And so things are creeping up. Some of that's due to the year of 2020 and how that's gone. But even besides that, I think it's just slowly matured to that level that it should have been, when people realize, what Jerry Rice did is amazing. And when you look at football and guys' careers usually not lasting that long, people are now starting to appreciate the greatness of not just Jerry Rice, but a lot of these veteran stars whose careers are over. And so I think you're seeing a rise on that vintage market. But the current market is experiencing a boom again. 2020 is across the board just going to go down as a boom year. But a lot of we can argue. I've said this on Sports Card Nation, our larger show, that football is America's pastime. I think more people are fans of football now, between daily fantasy leagues, regular fantasy leagues, just fandom in general. I think it's the number one sport in the United States, and overtaking baseball. Now, I don't think that's a recent development. I think that's been a little bit of a while now. And so but initially that didn't really translate over to the card market. As big as the fandom was for football, it didn't translate to cards. It was always still sort of baseball and basketball. And I'm not putting football ahead of those two sports either, with hockey kind of pulling up the rear. But I think that gap's closed. I think more people are partaking in it or getting involved in it, even if it's in a small way at first, and then maybe enveloping themselves more in it. We talked about defensive players not bringing probably what they really should. I think over years from now that will slowly change. Your Khalil Macks, your Aaron Donalds. Are they going to bring what quarterbacks or running backs or receivers that are great? Well, no, I don't think that'll ever be the case. But I think you'll slowly see some of those defensive players, once they get closer to the hall or in the hall, those prices matriculate up more so than even legends of the past at a higher trajectory. Obviously, when you look at like an Aaron Donald and you compare him to a Lawrence Taylor, Lawrence Taylor legitimately just had one rookie card, the 82 tops. And, Aaron Donald has so many different rookie cards, and not just rookie cards, but then RPAs and autograph cards that, in the 80s you didn't have. So you're comparing, you can't, it's comparing apples to oranges. But I think those type of cards on Hall of Fame defenders will have more value than they do today. So I myself, I will buy some of that stuff, especially at lower levels and price ranges. And so I've got stuff like that. That's an opportunity to get in sort of on the ground level. Barring a tragic injury to either one of them, and I use these two guys right now for the current defensive crop. But Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack are probably going to be both first ballot Hall of Famers. And I know they're not sexy wide receivers or quarterbacks, but the numbers they're going to have compiled when all is said and done is going to be outstanding. And so if you can get that stuff at such a bottom price that you really can't lose, you sort of doesn't make sense not to. Obviously, the sexy position when it comes to football cards, as I just said, is always going to be the quarterback. Number one reason why? Think about it. A great quarterback, a very good quarterback, how long do their careers last? 10 to 15 years, right? We look at even this year, your Roethlisbergers and Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning retired last year. These guys were from the 2004 draft, and here it's 19 or 20, and they're still playing in the league 15, 20 years. Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, double digits of greatness. And so more of a safer bet. And, injuries can happen on that front too, but, those careers generally last longer if you're good. And so quarterbacks will always be the engine that drives football cards. There's no denying that. It's the number one position. It's the leader in the face of the franchise. And, when we look at even this year's rookie class, folks, with the Burrows and the Tua and Justin Herbert and L.A. Chargers, almost said San Diego Chargers, but those guys' prices are already very high before they even throw their first pass. So, to buy them, you got to be careful. The ceiling, you're very close to the ceiling. Those are the guys you want to pull when you're opening product rather than have to shell out money already, because before they even throw their first pass, people are way over speculating already on them, driving those prices up. So quarterback's not a position, I say, to really go hog wild or invest, if you will, a bunch of your money. That's the position when you open wax or buy into a break that you hope you hit those guys rather than have to purchase them. And so then we turn to the other skill set positions, right? Your running backs and your wide receivers. And one thing I want, word of caution with running backs, out of all these skill set positions, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, running backs' careers are traditionally the shortest. You're looking at an average lifespan of a running back of 3 to 5 years. And even the very good ones rarely last 10 years. You look at Terrell Davis, who's a Hall of Famer. Now, I can make an argument that he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. He had some injuries that cut his career short. But here you're looking at a guy that only played 7, 8 years. And his card values are not up there, even though he's a Hall of Famer. And that short career, I think, is the main reason why. And so running backs, you got to be careful of. I think there are certain guys that come into that position that I think are transcendent players. Your Walter Payton, Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Christian McCaffrey. I'm going to put in there in the early stages here to be sort of that transcendent guy. Marshall Faulk's another guy. I don't want to leave him off. And Saquon Barkley's a guy I love. I have a lot of Saquon Barkley stuff. And again, he's hurt. And so now I'm not going to lie. I'll be very transparent. I'm a little concerned with Saquon Barkley. I think he's one of the best running backs in football, but he's sort of having trouble staying healthy. I don't think it's his fault. I'm not calling him. It's not a situation where he's soft. I mean, he's just getting these, season-ending injuries and missing, now his almost second full season. And I don't think that offensive line in the Meadowlands is doing him any favors. He's taken a lot of abuse, a lot of hits, and so now that overconfidence I had in him is sort of taken down a notch. But still like him. We're going to talk about when to buy these kind of cards too. There's a strategy involved there as well. But I think when you look, if you take quarterbacks out of the equation, the other position that really yields the most return or bang for your buck, if you will, that's the direction we're going with this episode, it's the wide receiver position. Again, this is another position that a star player can last double-digit years, and can put up. The thing is, there's never going to be another Jerry Rice, so it's going to be who's the best non-Jerry Rice. And a lot of people have, staked their claim. Your Terrell Owens, your Randy Moss, and I think your current group of players are also going to stake their claim as well. You got Calvin Johnson, who recently retired, but even guys still playing, Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, until he literally had his meltdown, was on that pace. And, DeAndre Hopkins is a guy. You want to talk about a guy, and again, you've heard me say, I don't like to tell people what to do or buy this guy and influence like that. Not to compare myself to an influencer, but DeAndre Hopkins is a guy. I'm buying a lot of his rookie stuff. I have a lot of his rookie stuff put away. I buy it. I don't resell it. I'm not flipping it now. The stuff is still super affordable, super cheap, stunningly to me. When you look at what he's done already, again, another guy that should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's now in Phoenix with the Cardinals and playing very well. Kind of a new lease on life, and Houston looks like a train wreck right now, and he's made his way west with the trade. And he's a guy that's like, when you look at the numbers and what his cards go for, very cheap. I mean, even RPAs, depending on the card, can be had raw for under $100, and you buy a Hopkins RPA under $100, you get it. It's in nice shape. You get that thing slabbed, and now you're looking at probably a couple $100, and that's today. I think later on, years from now, when maybe he's retired and becoming a Hall of Famer, you're looking at maybe 600 to maybe four figures potentially. And so there are a lot of receivers like that. The other thing is that there's a lot of young, talented receivers that I'm particularly fond of. Calvin Ridley, I was all in on the jump, and I've got a ton of his rookie cards. Optic and Prism and autograph cards and parallels and colors. I'm probably well into the 3 digits with Calvin Ridley. I did that with Anthony Miller. He's been a little bit of a slow start, but I still like him. Another guy I love in that wide receiver category, DJ Moore from the Panthers. I have quite a bit of his stuff, and so I've really attacked the wide receiver position more than probably any other position for the reasons I stated. Quarterbacks already come in very high value. Running back shelf life, even the good ones, is a short window. They're like a shooting star. They glow bright, they burn hot, and then poof, they're gone, and very quickly. And so wide receivers is sort of the best of both worlds. Long career, low prices to get in. Even 3, 4, 5 years in, even when a guy's doing good, they're still very obtainable. So wide receiver is, in my opinion, the position, sort of the target. Get someone young and just buy quite a bit. It's a risk. Cards, as we all know, are risk, like buying in a break, buying a wax box and open it. You're not guaranteed anything. I gave you a couple examples there. Calvin Ridley looks like a winning pick by me, buying a lot of his stuff. Anthony Miller right now, jury's still out, still young, and with football guys, the one question I get asked a lot from folks that know I do football cards is like, how do you know when like a rookie or isn't going to make it? Like it's not going to happen for him. And I'd say probably number one, if they're out of the league, that's pretty obvious, and a lot of times that's what it does occur. Or if they're in the league and it's year 4 and they haven't established themselves, probably going to be just sort of that middle of the road role type player. Generally, football stars blossom their second or third year. They're a rare exception. A rookie will light it up. But by the third year, you generally know that player is going to be a superstar or just a decent, serviceable player. And that's just the general rule of thumb. Another position on the offensive side of the ball we didn't talk about is tight end. And there's some great ones in the league. You got your George Kittles and your Travis Kelce's, and you got your up-and-comers and T.J. Hockenson, Noah Fant. But tight end positions, even though they're very important to the success of the real team itself, it doesn't really translate over to the card side. I mean, even Rob Gronkowski playing with the Patriots and the character he is, very popular. But his cards are very affordable and obtainable, and he's going to be another guy he'll be a Hall of Famer, but his cards, tight end's a position that usually does not bring high values in cards. So it's a position I generally do not go after or try to obtain a lot of inventory in that position. Again, I revert back to wide receivers as the first position that I would target. And you have a lot of, the other thing when you think about position, buying by position, right? What some offensive sets, right, can be a 4 or 5 wide receiver set. So there's more opportunities for receivers to get on the field. There's only going to be one quarterback at a time, but there's going to be multiple receivers. Tight ends. Sure, there's 2 tight end sets, but 1 tight end. Sure, there can be, even in two backfield sets, one guy's usually a fullback, and fullbacks get no hobby love, so we can not even waste any time talking about them. So a running back, there's only one, but wide receivers, you have more chances to really hit on someone because there's multiple on the field, and so it kind of increases your rate of success when more guys are getting playing time. So wide receivers are a position I can tend to keep more of my eyes on, even pre-NFL. I'm a huge college football guy too, so I will watch a lot of college football and kind of try to almost scout, prospect guys that I think may translate over to the NFL and do well. And so you got to look at positions when it comes to, who do you want to buy. And so wide receiver, again, something I would target. So let's coming down here to the home stretch. Let's talk. We've kind of broke it down by position. I've mentioned some players and players of past, and let's talk about when to buy. When to buy, a lot of times, obviously, is early on. That's key. Early on, with running backs and receivers, before they establish themselves. Very few running backs and receivers come in year 1 and light it up and establish themselves that quick. Sure, there are exceptions to the rule. Christian McCaffrey was pretty hot out the box. Saquon Barkley had a great rookie year, and there's been others too. But generally, it takes 2 to 3 years for a running back, wide receiver to really establish themselves, win the job outright. And that's the other word of advice as well: is be patient. If that rookie you bought a bunch of a guy, invested in him, if you want to use that word, and that rookie year sort of lukewarm, or he showed some splashes, but not as much as you like. Don't. My advice is don't always panic sell. Hold on. Many guys, like I said, develop year 2, year 3, even sometimes later, year 4 or 5. Now, whether you want to wait that long, I don't know. I don't know if I would be doing that, but year 2 or 3, I wouldn't panic on a lukewarm rookie season. But so hang on. Don't. That can be a mistake you make too. Is you get discouraged and you sell too quick, and then that guy, you sell cheap, maybe even at a loss, and then a year or two later you're regretting selling those cards. And so when to buy? You obviously want to buy before that player truly established themselves as an elite talent or great player in the league. Another opportunity. It sounds crazy. Buy on an injury. If that high quality, top of the line player that you believe in is going to have a great career does get hurt, that's when to buy. Because what do we know happens when a guy gets hurt? Especially if it's for a significant amount of time, his cards are going to come down in price. And so if you believe that, hey, yeah, this player's season's over, I'll use Saquon. Really is the first one that comes to mind. And I have a lot of Saquon stuff too. Inventory wise, he's a guy I truthfully believe in. He's dealing with his second major injury, so that does give me pause. But now's a great time to jump in and buy on a dip, buy on an injury. Now, you don't wish for anyone to hurt. As someone that has a ton of Saquon cards, I don't want him to be hurt. I want him out there playing great, and those card values obviously to rise. But when these situations happen, and regardless of position, quarterback, running back, receiver, if it's a guy you believe strongly in and they're hurt and they're out for the year, that's an opportunity to get some deals, because people, instant gratification, or people panic like he may not come back. There's some people probably believe that this injury with Saquon Barkley in the ACL, even if when he comes back, he's not going to be that explosive guy that a lot of people or what he showed, and so people will panic sell or get out of them and dump. And so that's if you're on the opposite side of that coin and you still believe, and I put myself in that camp, at least with Saquon, it's a great opportunity to buy cards. We talk about late developers. Devontae Parker is another guy that I love, or still love, and he's actually starting to play really well, but it took 3-4 years, and I have again a ton of his Prism rookies, colors, parallels, contenders autos that I bought very cheap when people sold in that second year, when it looked like he was going to fizzle out and not pan out. And so people got rid of his stuff cheap, and I was there to scoop them up, pay them, and get a bunch of Devontae Parker at a very, very rock bottom sort of price. And now, a couple years after those purchases, he's starting to look like he's the player that many predicted would be, and he's playing very well. And I could sell all those cards right now and make quite a bit of ROI on it. I'm not doing that quite yet. I think he's got many more solid years ahead of him. And so, again, I use the term marinate. I'm going to let him marinate some more before I ever really market all the cards that I have. So, buying on a dip, buying when a guy is kind of struggling early in his career. Obviously, if you still believe in the guy, there's an inherent risk there. If he's struggling and he never not struggles, you're kind of stuck holding the bag. But that's the risk you take. And in the other side of that coin is, you buy cheap and he turns his career around and becomes that superstar that he was supposed to be, and you make out like a bandit. So you got to take. That's the thing. Football is more risky with some of these career-ending injuries. It's a what have you done for lately league, meaning you could be a star running back 1 year, and they draft the new hottest flavor of the month in the draft next year, and you're done. You look at Kerryon Johnson in Detroit, right? Supposed to be the first running back in Detroit to be the answer to their problems in a long time. Had a good, decent rookie year, pretty good second year, and then they drafted DeAndre Swift this year. Now, and then signed Adrian Peterson, and suddenly Kerryon Johnson not looking like a world beater as much anymore. We know how New England and Bill Belichick handles that running back position. Sony Michel looked like he was going to be the long-term answer and a great buy. And, Bill Belichick just uses multiple backs. And some guys get in sort of that doghouse and never live up to the billing. Damian Harris became like his favorite guy, and he's used other guys, and he just uses multiple running backs. And so, knowing the game like I do, Sony Michel was never a guy, even though when a lot of other people were, going crazy for him coming out of Georgia, and he had a great college career. But I just said in New England, Belichick's going to use 3 or 4 guys. Michel could run for 150 yards one game, and next game Belichick's going to give him the ball like 8 times, and someone else the ball 15 times. And he's trying to win the game. He's not trying to make superstars, and probably why he's been so successful, quite frankly. It's not about individual players with Belichick. So you got to be, how teams handle certain guys. To me, early on, I knew Sony Michel was not going to be, while he might be a great talent in the system he is, and the coach that he plays for is not going to always let him be the focal point or the shining point. Where you look at someone like Saquon, he is the Giants' bright star, and unfortunately, he just keeps getting hurt. And so you got to look at, take everything into account. Buy on a dip, buy when if you believe in a guy, buy when other people don't, and do that. Do that legwork yourself. We're too much in this hobby with charts and analytics, and we want to do the less work and come out with the best outcomes. And yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but I appreciate more when I do the legwork myself and hit. I'm really loving where I'm at with Calvin Ridley right now. I've got a lot of Calvin Ridley. I've got a lot of Devontae Parker, a lot of Barkley, a lot of DJ Moore. So far, those guys are looking all right. Saquon's hurt right now, but I think long term, I'd like to see him almost get out away from the Giants. I don't think that's doing him any favors. But I enjoy football and football cards and, selling, buying, and sort of playing the football card chess game. And it's sort of like that. You make different moves. You move your pieces around the board. And, it's sort of like hot potato, too. Is maybe you do buy a guy and then you realize in your own mind, I don't think he's going to be what I initially thought he was going to be. Anthony Miller might be one of those type of guys for me. Just going to be an okay player where I thought he was going to be the best Bears wide receiver. And along came the signing of Allen Robinson, and it's probably going to slow Anthony Miller's progression down. And so, knowing when do I sell him? When do I just throw him on eBay and sort of take the L, as they say? That's a consideration you have to do. And I will tell you this in football, in relative to other sports, your percentage is going to be lower between injuries and flavor of the month and flavor of the moment where guys lose their job never to get it back again. That happens more in football than any other sport. And so you have to accept that inherent risk if that's what you want to do. I've done that for many years. I'm willing to do that, and I'm having fun with it. It helps me too, being such a big fan. I think that's a factor why I do football as much as I do. But if you have any football card related questions, I consider myself, very passionate, very knowledgeable about that genre, and not just football, but we're talking about football in this episode. So feel free, if you want, reach out. Let me know what you thought of this show, and if you like the show, give us a positive review on whatever platform you're listening to us at. And we'll see you. We'll see you in about a week, most likely. Thanks for listening. Take care. Be well.
Happy trails till we meet.